Oh, we don't have a desktop. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. Sorry, a couple of minutes late here, guys. Thank you for joining me today. So I guess, as we mentioned in the last three videos now, Blood Angels, I guess, are in a weird state. We lost a bunch of stuff. We have this little mini supplement. I do have it open somewhere. I get too many tabs open. Alright, cool. We've got this little mini supplement here, which we went over on Monday, I think it was. So, without all our stratagems from all the books, gaming this week is going to be difficult nonetheless. I have a game to play, and it's against a horrific Iron Hands list, which is here. And I have lost against this Iron Hands list. I think I've played a variation of it 4 times maybe. One of the times I should definitely won. I fucked up, and one of the times I rage quit at the beginning of the game because I had no idea how much damage this list can actually do. So it's important to me to get today's list right. So hopefully I'll be asking out in the chat. I have actually made 2 lists already, but maybe we can look at those as well. I'm not convinced those lists are good. And also, I guess the other thing to say is, obviously I've never used the Space Marine Codex before, right? So there's psychic powers, and there's relics and warlord traits and all sorts that are new. And then the other thing is, my damn Space Marine Codex didn't come yesterday. I think it was dispatched on Friday, but I do not have it, so I'm still using, I guess, screenshots from the leaks last week. I mean, the screenshots are accurate and they're right, but it's just annoying to not have the book. So, I guess anyone that's tuning in for the first time, thank you. If you are new to the channel, then I've got a great idea for this week's video. I think videos always go out on Friday, so this Friday there should be something quite good coming out, and I kind of maybe think I'm going to focus Friday's video on Terminators, because I think Terminators are back. I think Shooting Terminators and Assault Terminators, they're both back, and the new Teleport Homer rules for the Terminators is really interesting, right? So I guess this list, for example, there's 2 drop pods in it, each with a Devastator squad in the drop pods. Each Devastator squad is rolling with 4 multi-meltas because Games Workshop didn't think this through when they buffed multi-meltas to 2 shots. So being this is an Iron Hands list I'll be playing against, when this guy drops down his multi-meltas, they're going to be, one of them is going to hit on 2s and get to fire twice, and they're in Devastator Doctrine, so he gets to reroll 1s. So basically it's going to be 4 multi-melta shots almost guaranteed to hit. That's a 97% chance to hit when you hit on 2s, rerolling 1s. And then the other 6 shots are hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. So it's going to be pretty horrendous when these 2 Devastator squads drop down. It's just going to be 10 multi-melta shots into whatever he can see. If it's turn 1, if it's turn 2 and he's out of Devastator Doctrine, that's good, but I mean the only way that's really going to happen is if he goes first and I manage to deploy everything in hiding and leave no spaces in my deployment zone for the drop pods. So yeah, that is this is going to be it's going to be difficult. This is why I've struggled with this list. I'm just annoyed that I didn't beat it last time, because last time I actually should have beaten it. But last time he didn't have 2-shot multi-melta Devastators. And also last time these Devastators didn't have 2 wounds, so they are going to be more difficult to clear off the board now. That's why I was thinking Shooting Terminators might be an option with the Teleport Homer, as in drop them down, spray the Devastators with whatever the Terminators have, Storm Bolters. We could have a Cyclone Missile Launcher in there. We could have Assault Cannons. It doesn't have to be a 5-man Terminator squad either, it could be more. And then we can use the Teleport Homer to remove them from the map and bring them down somewhere else where they'd be useful further into the game. The drop pods can deploy in turn 1. I don't know I think that was like that in 8th edition. But yeah, they can definitely deploy in turn 1. So yeah, it's a tricky list because as a Blood Angel player, I want to start some of my units off the board, like for example, maybe the Sanguinary Guard or Dante or whatever, and but if I leave any spot in my deployment zone that he can bring the Devastators down in, they will just come down and hose whatever, like they'll just kill anything. So yeah, I should have said this at the start, sorry. If you are new here, I appreciate a subscribe button hit. We are growing this channel, and I guess we have a pretty cool community of useful I think last week's live stream was really great, like loads of people chimed in, and yeah, I think I learned an awful lot last week. I think there was a couple of mistakes that we missed on the live stream last week. I don't think we realised that the -1 for being shot with death masks, Dante's version is different from the regular guys. The regular guys only get it in melee. Dante gets it in melee and ranged. So yeah, I have to build a list to fight this. This is happening on Wednesday this week for me, and I am going to record the. I'll try and record it again from both camera angles. So it takes a lot of time to edit the battle reports together, but and I guess not sure how super usable it'll be because it'll be like a battle report before we get our supplement. But I'm going to do it anyway, so you'll see that on the channel. It's worth looking at. So yeah, let's break down his list first, and then you guys in chat can tell me what you think of the 2 lists I have, and then maybe we'll try and build a better list to fight this. So it's a spearhead detachment he's got. So he has the, where is it? The Mortis Dreadnought is actually, this Dreadnought has 2 twin link las cannons on it. Yeah, 2 twin link las cannons. It's a character, it's a warlord, and it's got target protocols. I don't even know what target protocols is for Iron Hands, so maybe you just have to quickly look that up. If you guys don't know about this website, Wapedia is a Russian website. It's like it's amazing for looking stuff up. It's just got everything, it seems like. I guess sometimes you have to do this. Target protocols. At the start of your shooting phase, select 1 friendly Iron Hands model within 6 inches of this warlord. Once that phase, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon in the model from the unit, you can re-roll the hit roll. Alright, so you can re-roll the hit roll, he can re-roll the wound roll, and he can re-roll the damage roll. Okay. Sorry, Tucker. Yeah, so this Dreadnought, I've actually been playing him. I think he's been doing this wrong. The wording on that makes it sound like once per phase when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model from that unit. That doesn't mean all ranged weapons. That means a single ranged weapon. I'm pretty sure he's been doing that for all the las cannons. So, maybe he hasn't. I'm not sure. But so yeah, 2 las cannons shooting from here, re-rolling 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 damage roll, and yeah. So that dread is pretty much untargetable, right? Like I can't get in close to target it. I can't shoot it. So that dread's untargetable because it's a character with less than 10 wounds. And he's got a Tech Marine, which I think is... The Primaris Tech Marine has the ability to give a vehicle +1 to hit now, right? I've never run the Primaris Tech Marine, but I'm pretty sure I read that this week or last week, like, because Tech Marine's got a little bit of a buff, right? Tech Marines. Primaris Tech Marine. In your command phase, this can select 1 chapter vehicle model within 3, add 1 to the hit when it makes a ranged attack. Alright, so basically, 2 of his last cannons are hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. The other 2 are hitting on 2s, no re-rolling, but still. You've got this untargetable dreadnought to deal with. Troop-wise, you've got 2 squads of infiltrators. Well, 3 squads actually, a 10-man squad and a 5-man squad. I mean, these guys could combat squad off, but it means dropping in against them is going to be very difficult. It's going to screen like a large section of his deployment zone, I guess. I didn't realise he had 2. So he's a regular Tech Marine and a Primaris Tech Marine. Again, don't know what Tempered Helm is. Let me see if I can look that up. Tempered... Am I spelling that wrong? Tempered Helm. The Tempered Helm, alright, it's a relic. Whilst a model from your army is within the relic on the battlefield, you can... Alright, so it's just the one that refunds command points. So that's not that big a deal. Then we've got an Intercessor squad with Stalker Bolt Rifles and Thunderhammers, so if you do charge them and one's left alive, then you get Thunderhammers in the face. 2 Leviathan Dreadnoughts. Each of these Dreadnoughts has 2 Storm Cannons and 3 Hunter Killer Missiles. So, I mean, Hunter Killer Missiles are what? Strength 10 minus a lot now? Did the new rules... Do they have Hunter Killer Missiles in them? Let me see. Hunter Killer Missiles. Hunter Killer. That's the Hunter Slayer. God damn it, the person's finger's over. I'm pretty sure Hunter Killer Missiles are now, what, Strength 10 minus 2 or minus 3d6 damage? Yeah, so that's pretty much the list, though. So there isn't that much stuff, right? Because I guess the Devastators and the drop pods are quite expensive. Like 175 points, 245 points for each of the Devastator squads because they're drop pods. I think the drop pods will have like a Storm Bolter on them or something. Nothing major to worry about. And then you've got this 2 Leviathans coming in at 365 points each. If I can tie those up in melee combat, I'll kill them very quickly. But getting close to them, I guess, will be a problem. They may even come in as strategic reserves. And then, yeah, Intercessors and Tech Marines. So, then what if we look at the first... Some of the lists that I was looking at making... So this first list then, I've called it Dante Returns, because I guess Dante is returning with his... how the hell do I zoom this in? Is this it? Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. Right, so Battlescribe isn't updated, right? So you got to make the list in Notepad or whatever. I actually had a question about this. Maybe someone in chat can tell me. If you do not choose Dante to be your warlord, for example, like let's say we chose the Sanguinary Priest, can you then play Hero of the Chapter on Dante? Because I couldn't figure out if you couldn't. Hero of the Chapter doesn't specifically say it can't be played on a named character, right? I just had never done that. It just says select one Blood Angel's character that is not your warlord and determine one warlord trait for them. So, can Dante be a hero of the chapter if he's not your warlord? I think from that you can. So, and obviously the new Dante gives us +1 CP, right? So if we look at this list first, I was thinking we take Dante, we take a Sanguinary Priest. The Sanguinary Priest has 2 options, I guess, for this Armor Indomitus is a new thing from the Space Marine Codex. It's a relic. Again, because I don't have the damn Space Marine Codex, I'm going to have to just look it up real quick. And is it not? There are no results. Alright. Basically, it gives you a better save. I think it gives you a 2+ save, and it gives you a turn where you can turn on a 3+ invulnerable save. If you've got the Space Marine Codex, someone can tell me in chat about the Armor Indomitus. And then Hero Rights of War is the new Warlord trait that allows you to make anything that's within, I think it's 3 inches. I'd have to check. I'll know tomorrow when I get the Codex. It lets you basically make any unit within range of an OBSEC. So, if we're going to run like a big squad of Sanguinary Guards, big squad of Vanguard Veterans, if they're on objectives and there's like one damn troop left on the other person's side, it'd be very useful to be able to OBSEC them, right? Yeah, I mean, Omen, I think that there might be an option now to do a drop pod for Blood Angels. Like a drop pod with even Tycho in like Corbolo and like a small death company. It's definitely an option, I think. And then for troops, tend to run assault intercessors usually for pushing forward, for holding the back line. Intercessors with stalker bolt rifles. I was thinking of proxying 5 heavy intercessors tomorrow or Wednesday. We obviously know the stats, we know the points, and let's face it, aggressors are worthwhile now, or worthless now. So I was thinking of using heavy intercessors as a way to, or use the aggressor models as heavy intercessors. These guys might be able to survive against those multi-melta shots. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, none of these troops will get a save against those multi-meltas, even after turn 1, right? Because they're -4. So if you have troops on an objective and he targets them, you're just going to lose those troops on the objective. It's really nasty for scoring primaries. Then I was thinking, in this list anyway, we've got 9 Vanguard Vets, so we really are making a death ball. 3 Thunderhammers, 3 Power Fists, 2 Chain Swords, a Relic Blade on the Sergeant, and obviously 9 Jump Packs. They also have the Storm Shields. I should have wrote Storm Shields here. We take a Sanguinary Guard. You don't really need the Infernal Pistol, but I like them just because it's a good way. You're usually charging anyway, and then you're usually in close combat, right? So the Infernal Pistol can now do 9 damage, I guess. Or is it 8? It might be 8, sorry. Did they put the weapon profiles? Yeah. Okay, so they put the weapon profiles on, but they didn't put the Infernal Pistol on. Maybe that's on Dante's profile. No. Oh, that's... Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so it can do d6 plus 2, so it can do 8 damage now. So that's why 5 points to do 8 damage when you need to be up close anyway. Why not? Sanguinary Guard, 10-man squad, bunch of Power Fists, some Infernal Pistols again. I think a Plasma Pistol just because I've got it on the guy and I like to play WYSIWYG. I will look at changing this at some point. We can Tempter Mortis Dreadnought, that one's with 2 times Twin Link Las Cannons, just so that I've got some sort of heavy support. And then this is a melee Leviathan Dreadnought. 1 Storm Cannon, 1 Siege Claw. So, against the Iron Hands list, holding objectives in my own deployment zone is going to be an absolute nightmare. I feel like if he drops down multi-meltas, you can take out any of these squads that will be on the objectives. Even if the Mortis Dread or something is on the objective, he'll take that out as well. 10 multi-melta shots. You probably only need to use like half of them to take out the Mortis Dread, right? Because they'll only get to save on 5s, and multi-meltas are now like... Do they only get the bonus damage in half range, is that right? So I guess depending, it might have the bonus damage, it might not, but this dread only has 10 wounds, so that'll just that'll totally destroy that dread. Do you know what? I'm going to move my camera over to the right. I didn't realise I was blocking a little bit of my list there, sorry. So, I mean, in terms of like getting in close and doing damage, we have the Sanguinary Ancient, we have the Sanguinary Guards, we have the Vanguard Veterans, we have Dante, we have the Sanguinary Priest. So there's a lot going on there. With Dante, with the rerolls, he can also grant. So you can grant one squad full rerolls, and another squad would reroll ones. And the Banner Bearer would let the Sanguinary would let all Blood Angels within 6 add 1 to their wound to their hit roll. Sorry, that's been changed now, right? So Sanguinary Ancient's banner is now select one core unit. So Dante lets you pick one to get full rerolls. The banner lets you pick one to add 1 to their hit. So you would pick not the Sanguinary Guard, because the Sanguinary Guard already have Heirs of Ezekiel, so they already get +1 to hit for being close to Dante. So basically all your Sanguinary Guard become weapon skill 2, all your Vanguard Veterans become weapon skill 2, and then they can all reroll 1s to hit, because Dante has that aura for core units, and they are all core. I guess when Dante gets to choose someone to, because he gets to choose a Blood Angel's core or Blood Angel's character to reroll 1s, then I guess he would choose himself, because the Rites of Battle allow both core units to reroll 1s. So basically, hello Jay, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. So basically, Dante, the Sanguinary Ancient, the Sanguinary Guard, the Vanguard Vets, all of them are hitting on 2s with rerolling 1s. I mean, obviously the ones with Thunderhammers and Power Fists are now hitting on 3s with reroll 1s. Or you could still make one of those squads reroll everything and just give up Dante's rerolls. But, I mean, his axe did get buffed. It's a solid 2 damage now, so maybe you don't want to give his axe up. I guess there's a question mark around that, right? So that's what that list provides. They also provide the Sanguinary Priest, which would give everything within 3 of him. So I guess if you position them right, would get a 6+ Feel No Pain. So that's decent. Not as good as the standard of Sacrifice, albeit, but it is a 6+ Feel No Pain. And then at the end of the movement phase, he can do a combat restoration. So basically heal up to D3 lost wounds. In this list I have also made him the Chief Apothecary. So I guess anyone of the Space Marine Codex has been reading this today. The Chief Apothecary gets the ability to become a selfless healer. So there's a question mark around if selfless healer is valuable. I think in this list actually, where you're running 2 squads like the Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard Veterans, then selfless healer becomes really good, because each turn he can return a destroyed model using the combat revival stratagem, and it costs 0 CP, and he can also return a guaranteed 3 wounds instead of D3. So basically, that's not so important, but... Oh, and you can also use the combat restoration twice. So you can restore 1 Sanguinary Guard to life and 1 Vanguard Veteran to life every turn. So, like, your melee Death Ball... I mean, like, at this point, the melee Death Ball in this list, though, is 737 points plus 310. So you've got 1,047 points on the melee Death Ball. I mean, that's like, there's actually so many points you couldn't actually deploy them all in Deep Strike, because you can only deploy half your list in Deep Strike, right? But I mean, you could jump them forward. I suppose it depends on the battlefield. It will make deployment really difficult, because you're only going to have like a few troops and a few dreadnoughts to deploy, and then you have to start putting these guys down. So, you know, this is the sort of list that I ran in 8th edition, right? Like, half the points or more were melee units. Like, huge swaths of melee. My 8th edition list had like let's say, an 8-man Sanguinary Guard, the Sanguinary Ancient, we had Astaroth in there, we had Dante sometimes, we had a Smash Captain most times, we had Lamartes following the Death Company, we also had a 10-man Death Company. Like, quite often in 8th edition I had like over 1200 points of close combat units, and what I would end up doing is I would actually just deploy like the Sanguinary Guard on the board with the full intent of, like, upon wings of firing them, like in turn 1, like they just deploy in hiding, just because I needed 1000 points to deploy on the board. So this is list 1, Dante returns, and then let me think, is this the second? Let me... No. Right, so the second list that I was thinking was you could still have Dante, you could still take the Chief Apothecary with Rites of Battle or Selfless Healer. I think Selfless Healer is going to be more valuable if you have both the Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard Vets, or I guess if you have 2 squads running with him, it's more valuable, right? Because he can... I don't think he's allowed to restore 2 dead guys out the same squad a turn. It needs to be 2 different squads. Someone could correct me on that. The Librarian Dread. So the Librarian Dread has a new... he now has the default Space Marine psychic powers, which is a little bit different from what we've been running up until now. Obviously, before we had the Sanguinary discipline, we now have just the sort of standard Space Marine discipline, and what that means is the Librarian Dread has the ability to cast Null Zone, which basically removes invulnerable saves for everything within 12 inches of him if you give him the I never say that relic right. The name of it. The Biomantic Sacrifice. So we could take Null Zone to basically reduce or remove. Null Zone would essentially remove any of the invulnerable saves from the Leviathans. Now, based on the list that I'm fighting has 700 some points in Leviathans, removing their invulnerable saves would be pretty interesting. And also he can Psychic Scourge. No, not Psychic Scourge. Psychic Fortress to give everything within 12 inches of him a 5+ Feel No Pain. So we could have a massive Feel No Pain bubble. Not Feel No Pain, sorry, invulnerable save. So we could have that as well. Someone was telling me that Might of Heroes is also really strong. So you can select a core unit or a character and add 1 to their strength, toughness, and attacks. Well, if you did that to the Sanguinary Guard, that would be pretty massive. I guess if you did that to the Vanguard Veterans as well, that would also be pretty massive. Like, they'd just be... the Thunderhammers and Power Fists are now hitting on strength 10 with +1 to wound. You'd wound Leviathans on 2s. So that's interesting. Yeah, this list actually, I think, had some Terminators in it, Jay. So this list, we had the 10 Vanguard Vet, similar to whatever we had in the other list. We still had our Banner Bearer, so we still have a pretty strong, like, flying contingent, I guess. 890 points. Oh, sorry, no, not 890. 740 points. So it would be 10 Vanguard Vets, the Sanguinary Ancient, the Sanguinary Priest, and Dante. The Vanguard Vets are actually quite strong with Dante because they get +1 to hit from the Banner Bearer, so they're mainly hitting on 2s, and then they get to... Dante can choose them to reroll everything, so the Thunderhammers and Power Fists, although if they're hitting on 3s, they would get to reroll everything. So that could be quite strong. Librarian Dread, and obviously the Vanguard Vets are quite tanky with their Storm Shields. I think against this Iron Hands list that I'm playing, being survivable is going to be really important because I've underestimated the strength of that list before and the raw damage it can do. Like, if you think about this, right, you've got like 2 Leviathans, each gets 20 shots a turn, and then they've got the 3 Hunter Killer missiles. Like, the firepower of those hitting on 2s, they'll wound Space Marines on 3s. So if you do the math with Leviathan Dreads, it's kind of brutal. So it would be like 20 shots per dreadnought, obviously. Hitting on 2s, which means they hit 16.6 times. They wound on 3s, which means you need to take on average about 11 saves. He can pay 1 CP to put it into Devastator Doctrine, which makes it -3. So at -3, your Sanguinary Guard are only saving on 5s, and it's 2 damage a pop, right? And also, there's a rule again where he can pay again like 1 CP and make 6s count as double wounds. So out of those, if we go back to the start and it was like 20 times 8.3, out of those 16, how many are going to be 6s? It's going to be 2.7 6s. So realistically, you're going to have to take 14 saves at -3 from that Leviathan Dreadnought. That just at -3, that absolutely rips the Sanguinary Guard apart. That was the game that I basically called it in turn 1, and I was like, I did not understand how much damage. And that's only one dread, right? He's got 2 of them. So yeah, this list is going to be a challenge. So if we talk about the Vanguard Vets, at least they get a 4+ save against it, because they're Storm Shield. You wouldn't think it's much, but I mean, it makes a big difference. This list, I actually was thinking about 5-man Terminator Squad, Jay, and I was thinking that we'd have the Teleport Homer, because the Teleport Homer has been changed. It's pretty cool now. You can basically come down in one turn, do your thing, and then at the beginning of the next turn in the movement phase, you can just be removed from the board and then teleport in later in the game. I mean, you can only use it in turn 2, so if you did that in turn 2, you came off the board in turn 3, then you could come back down in turn 4. So you could either come off the board in the beginning of your turn 3 or turn 4 and come back down again. But so it means that your Terminators are only going to be on the board for half the game, but it does mean that they could be exactly where you need them to be, which might be important considering your Terminators only move 5. 5 Terminators dropping down with a Cyclone Missile Launcher. Cyclone Missile Launcher is like you can shoot 2 crack grenade. You can shoot 2 crack missiles, or you can shoot they just changed that. I did look at it the other day. Cyclone Missile Launcher. The frag is heavy 2d6 and it's blast. So if you were talking about taking out a squad of Devastators that have dropped down, that might be interesting. This list actually has a Relic Contemptor with a multi-melta, a claw, and 1 SB. What the hell is an SB again? Stormbolter, sorry. So this one has the Relic Contemptor with a Stormbolter. This one has 2 Furioso Dreadnoughts. I was considering doing some strategic reserves with them, in that we start this list with essentially 11 CP, so strategic reserves wouldn't be too bad. And then again, strategic reserves maybe for some attack bikes. So obviously the attack bikes now can have only 55 points. They have multi-meltas, and we can use the we could bring these in and shoot those Leviathan Dreadnoughts, or shoot drop pods or whatever we need to bring them in on. So this was potentially another option. I guess I have a third list here. I don't think there's much yeah, I mean, I guess the only difference between this list is, rather than take the 2 Furioso Dreadnoughts and the attack bikes, we kept the Mortis Dreadnought and kept the Relic Leviathan. It's tricky, right? Because when I've played against this Iron Hands list, the Blood Angel's Leviathan with a claw destroys. It's not even a contest. When he gets close, if he gets in charging range of the Iron Hands Leviathans, you just wipe the floor with them. The claw obviously will hit on 2s. You can pay 1 C. Actually, I don't know if we get Wisdom of the Ancients anymore, unless that's in the Space Marine Codex. But you can hit on 2s, and then you can wound on 2s as well, because it's a Strength 16 claw, and we get +1 to wound. So, basically, if my Leviathan gets in range of his for a charge, then it will do. It's pretty much going to do 5 10. I think one time it even did 15. Like it's going to do enough damage to almost kill it in one turn, or at least profile it. So having Leviathan is interesting, but we still have to deal with the issue that we've got this untargetable dread with 4 las cannons that like basically hit on 2s, reroll 1s, and one of the las cannons gets to reroll its wound and its damage roll. So having this untargetable dreadnought to put up with is like difficult to say the least. So yeah, this is this is my dilemma this week. When I played this list before, I killed both dreadnoughts. I actually was going to table him if he hadn't fallen out of combat in the final turn. I think he went second. I would have tabled the list, but I lost considerably on victory points. It's hard to be in the open against this list holding objectives. There's so much firepower. And yeah, I mean, Leviathans just kick out so many shots each turn, like 40 shots plus the ability to do 6 hunter killers. Infiltrators are not really a problem. Like, I mean, they shoot and they do some damage, but it's not really a problem. It's really the Devastator squads and Leviathans, and then this Dreadnought that you have to get to and deal with, because if you don't, it's just going to be ripping you apart for the entire game. So how I did it before, I guess, was managed to tie this Dreadnought up in close combat in turn 2 with like Sanguinary Guard. Took it out. It was still quite difficult to take out because he played Ironstone on it, which is the thing that basically makes every point of damage against it be -1. So it's kind of like Duty Eternal. I guess you can't play Ironstone on it anymore, but it will still have Duty Eternal, so it'll still be difficult to take out. Like, you'll need to get 9. You need to get 9 Power Fists or something through its shield or through its save in one turn to take it out. So yeah, I mean, there's quite a few people in chat. What do you guys think? Yeah, I mean, I was considering trying 2 Furioso. I mean, the fact that you can do strategic reserves is a big change, right? I don't like how they took their movement down. I mean, it seems a little bit stupid. Did they take down the Death Company Dreadnought movement? Yeah, they took it down as well. I mean, especially with the changes to Magna Grapple, it does seem a little bit strange to remove 2 inches. I did check the regular Marine Codex, though, and they did just take 2 inches off these regular dreadnoughts as well. Hard to say. I mean, I thought I would try 2 Furioso dreadnoughts, but I mean, the regular dreadnought, like, if you think about the Furioso having, it comes now with a heavy frag cannon, a Stormbolt, and the Furioso fist, right? I guess the question is, do you run a Furioso with 2 fists? Because it doesn't look like you get any advantage to running them with 2 fists anymore, from what I can see anyway. So, yeah, I mean, they're 120 points because I was looking at them before. And for 125 points, you can get a regular Dreadnought where you would switch out this heavy frag cannon, let's say, for another multi-melta. In the list that I'm thinking of running, or in this list with attack bikes, that might actually provide some synergy because you would play like Wisdom of the Ancient on this. Could anyone check that for me, actually? Are any of you guys got the Space Marine Codex? Did Wisdom of the Ancient make it into the Space Marine Codex? It's the stratagem that gives you +1 in a 6-inch bubble. Not +1, is it? Well, maybe they've changed it. It used to be you get to reroll ones in the shooting phase. It may very well be +1 to hit rolls now. So, you know, like if you had the attack bites coming in with a dreadnought, could be the Furio, so it could be a regular dreadnought with a multi-melt. I believe there was only 5 points difference. You could basically have eight multi-melta shots with a +1 to hit, so you'd be hitting on 2s. You know, that probably, and that's probably only 9 inches away from a Leviathan Dreadnought, so that'd probably down a Leviathan Dreadnought, right? I mean, we could math hammer it real quick. It would be interesting. I'd need to know if Wisdom of the Ancients still exists in the Space Marine Codex. It's really annoying that mine didn't come yesterday. So you've got 8 multi-melta shots now. So let's say you were just hitting on 3s. So 5 hits. Strength 8, so to wound a Leviathan you need 4s. That's not supposed to be times 4, it would be times 0.5, because 4s is half. So you probably... And then he's got a 4+ invulnerable save, right? So it's times 0.5 again. So yeah, 8 multi-meltas are probably not going to do enough to the Leviathan Dread. Maybe like... If you have so if you don't have any buffs, you're only going to do like 2 through. So if 3.5 is the average from a d6, then you're going to maybe do like 10 wounds to it. Okay, so Wisdom made it into the Space Marine. Alright, so if Wisdom made it in, then your chance to hit is probably like 75%. So 8 times 0.75, so you get 6 hits. Again, it's going to be forced to wound, and then again, you know, it's not going to make a huge difference. It's going to be 8 multi-melta shots against the Relic Leviathan Dreadnought can maybe do like an average of like 10 damage from 9 inch. So you'd have to get lucky to kill it with just that. But I mean, you could bring in the Furioso Dreadnought. You could play Wisdom of the Ancients, so you hit it with 6 multi-meltas, and then you could try and charge it. The only problem is, like, it's only going to be like an 8-inch charge, right? So that's a 40% chance. So it's pretty risky. That's why I... do you know what? Because we don't have the Forge World book yet, we don't know if Leviathans are going to have Duty Eternal. They might, I guess. I think they probably will have, because all the other Dreadnoughts have it. But... you know, they might get a new point cost for that, because that makes them quite a bit stronger again. I mean, they might actually point out, you know, like they might end up being a bit overcosted and people aren't going to run them. Yeah, okay, so I got one comment saying that the first list feels more like Blood Angels. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I did have a cool name, Dante Returns. We do have a giant golden host in that my Vanguard veterans are painted gold, because... I got annoyed that the Sanguinary Guard kept getting shot off the board, so Vanguard veterans with Storm Shields got painted gold. So we do have the giant golden host in this one, which is like 1,047 points. It will run over everything it can in melee. In ranged, it might take, you know, it will take wounds. It will definitely take wounds against the storm cannons, against. Even like the Stalker Bolt Rifle Intercessors have the ability to do wounds against it. But like let's say like previously when I played this list, both Leviathans started off the board and they came on. So if I can jump forward and be in cover, pretty defensible, and then jump forward again and get into charge range, then whatever we can charge into, we can probably destroy pretty effectively. I guess it'll just... I am kind of leaning towards this first list, but I'm kind of wondering about Leviathan. Previously, when I played this list, quite often I would use CP on the Leviathan for Duty Eternal. I'm wondering with no Duty Eternal on him, he's quite a bit weaker now, right? And I guess your Contemptor Mortis is a little bit weaker as well until we get the new rules. I liked in the second list how we had this new buffed Leviathan Dreadnought, or Librarian Dreadnought. There was one psychic power as well that you can use, Veil of Time. Until the next start of your psychic phase, you can reroll advanced and charge rolls made by this unit. Until the start of the next psychic phase, if a unit starts that phase within the engagement range of an enemy, it fights first that phase. So the Librarian Dreadnought could be a contender for, like, he could deep strike, or he could come in from strategic reserves, and then it still would be an 8-inch charge. But if you get the psychic power off, then you get to reroll the charge. If you guys don't know about the website Any Dice, it's amazing. I use it all the time. So you can copy this function here if you want to use this website, and it basically just can let you tell any probability. This isn't the default function, I've written this, but if we want to do an 8-inch charge, for example, so basically we roll 2d6 and we want to reroll anything less than 8, so like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can just hit calculate and then add up these numbers here, and that would be your probability of making that 8-inch charge with the reroll, right? So it's like 22 plus 17.5, I'm not doing this accurately, but just giving you an example, 8.8 plus 4.4. So 66%, if you're going to reroll your charge and you come in from strategic reserves, that's your chance of making that charge. So 2 out of 3 times, I mean, it's decent, but if you fail it, yeah, I mean, Death Company. We could take a Death Company squad for this. So do you know what? We've gone through a lot so far. We'll make I made a tab here called Community List, and maybe this is the list I will use at the end of the stream. If you guys think that this is the strongest list, we're in such a strange place with, like, we don't have any of the powers from the old Baal book, like Upon Wings of Fire. I'm absolutely sure that I'm going to mess up this game because I'm so used to saving CP for our old stratagems that are gone, right? And I'm going to forget stratagems from the new books. That's absolutely happening because, hey, I've never used the new books, or I've certainly never used the Space Marine psychic powers. So we're gonna mess up. But maybe we just make this community list, and that is the list that we play. I think the one thing I want to say is, like, with Dante being buffed, absolutely want to take Dante. Whether he's the Warlord is a question mark. But I do think that his buff is actually genuinely quite good. Like, I've been upset about how easy it is for enemies to kill Dante for the longest time. The -1 to hit is fairly strong, because if you think about, like, hits, wounds, saves, it's like a chain. So anything you do higher up the chain, as in, like, hits is the very first thing, that -1 on all hits is like, it's actually really, really strong because it, like, cascades down. So him getting -1 to hit is probably the equivalent of, like, maybe 2 more wounds. So you could just imagine Dante with 8 wounds. If his profile said 8 wounds, you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy's a shit, right? So I think Dante is, like, fairly strong now. Obviously, if you take him as your Warlord, you get 1 extra CP, which is also kind of nice. And his rerolls are very strong. And then this Epic Deeds of the Imperium basically means, like, I haven't seen the Space Marine Codex, but one of the Epic Deeds is Honour Thy Chapter, or, sorry, Only in Death Does Duty End, which means if Dante dies and you haven't played Only in Death Does Duty End this turn, that means you can basically always going to get to fire his Infernal Pistol, or you're always going to get to hit one last time with his axe for free. It's probably actually going to make more sense to always use the pistol now, because the pistol does a minimum of 3 damage within close combat. So, and it's still going to be the same thing. It's still going to hit on 2s, but it's actually going to be the exact same roll for wounds, because the pistol is strength 8 and his axe is strength 7 with +1 to wound from Red Thirst. So I think you're always going to want to use the pistol. So basically, anytime Dante dies now, if you haven't played that, you will always get to shoot his pistol once, which would potentially do 9 damage, right? Sorry, no, d6 plus 2, 8 damage. So, yeah, I think Dante is going to be a cool option. So, do you know what? We'll put Dante down. He's going to be our warlord. That's going to let us start with basically 13 CP if we build a battalion. I don't know if battalion is 1 Ls or 2. It's fine. Right, and then. Oh, last thing then. So when we talk about fighting this list with this untargetable Mortis Dreadnought, I only thought about this morning. I don't know if it's actually practical. You guys in chat can give me your opinion on this. What about a Storm Raven? Storm Raven can have 12 chapter models inside and a chapter Dreadnought. And it obviously moves 45 inches. So normally I cannot shoot his Dreadnought, right? Because it's a character and it's less than 10 wounds and it won't be the closest model to me, etc, etc, etc. However, if I had a Storm Raven, the Storm Raven has the ability to move 45 inches. I'm pretty sure I would be able to maneuver it to a location that would make that Dreadnought the closest. Like I could literally just move adjacent to it. And then shoot it because it's the closest target. So Storm Raven could be equipped with, I think my Storm Raven has 2 multi-meltas, 2 las cannons, the Typhoon missile launcher, and the Storm Strike missile launcher. 2 multi-meltas, the missiles, the 2 las cannons. Oh, and it's Hurricane Bolters. That's the last thing. So we could load up a Storm Raven, right, with like a Furioso Dreadnought and a 10-man Death Company without jump packs and a character to buff the Death Company because we get 12 models. So it could even be a character that has a jump pack, like Lamartis or like Astaroth. And we could just go forward 45 inches in turn 1, hose the Dreadnought with everything that we have. So it would be 2 multi-meltas, the twin las cannon, the Typhoon missile launcher using crack grenades or crack missiles, and then we'll math hammer that, and then we could also fire with the Hurricane Bolters for like what? There's 2 of them, so it'd be 24 bolter shots. I need to see the profile for a Mortis Dread. Is it toughness 7 or toughness 8 a Mortis Dread? Does anyone know? I feel like it's going to be toughness 7. Yeah, toughness 7. Okay. But we'll have Duty Eternal now, probably. Yeah, I don't own a Death. I don't own any drop pods. I've had one on my list to buy one, but I always end up buying something else. The Flyer, the Storm Raven gunship, if it did jump forward 45 inches and then unload, I guess multi-meltas is heavy 4 now, las cannons is heavy 2. I feel like the crack grenades, crack missiles is heavy. This would be turn 1 as well, right? So we'd be Devastator Doctrine, so it would actually be like -4 in las cannons. So you get no save against the las cannons, you get no save against the multi-melta. Against the cracks, he's only saving on 6s. There's a very good chance that would take out that Dreadnought, and taking that Dreadnought out early is going to be super clutch, I guess, because like a lot of his anti-armor firepower comes from that Dreadnought. I guess he does have 6 hunter killer missiles, but they are only one shot. And depending on, if you can end up tying up a Leviathan in close combat, then the hunter killer missiles can potentially be lost or wasted. So he kind of has to fire them early. So if a Storm Raven, if we did that, right, and we look at so I guess there's two characters now for Death Company. There's Lamartes, who can pick two litanies, and these can be the same litanies as someone else, and can cast them, and they only affect the Death Company. Death Company can obviously reroll charges while they're close to Lamartes. Did Death Company... Lamartes used to let them reroll hits. Is that gone now? I guess, maybe? But I guess he gets litanies, so I guess that's supposed to even it out. So we could have Lamartes in a 10-man Death Company, or Tycho the Lost actually became a thing, I guess. He got a new rule where... Okay, so he got rerolls for ones for Death Company. So I guess Tycho kind of inherited one of Lamarte's parts of his thing to maybe make Tycho useful, maybe? I mean... So if we took a Storm Raven, filled that with... I think I said the wrong thing. I don't think it was supposed to be the Typhoons. I think it was the Storm Trike. Unfortunately, Intercessors can't go in the Storm Raven, right? Because they still have that rule on it. Is that right? You know, where it's like they can't take Primaris units. Yeah, it cannot transport Primaris units. But yeah, I mean, we could put a Death Company Dreadnought in the Storm Raven. Haven't played the Death Company Dreadnought. Obviously, previously when I was playing my list, I usually ran the Relic Leviathan, so I really couldn't take a Death Company Dreadnought because it would just die, because I wouldn't have CP to Duty Eternal it, but maybe now I would. So yeah, do you guys like... Do you think that's a stupid strategy, I guess? Or do you think that might work if we kept what we had in the other list, like a Sanguinary Guard and an Ancient and the Priest and Dante, and we had them all run together, so that's like 750 points. Then we put a bunch of points into the Storm Raven, a Death Company, maybe Tycho, because like he does have a Melta-Gun, and if we're talking about like... And I guess he does let the Death Company rerolls ones as well, so if we have Death Company models... Sorry, I got too many tabs open. If we do have Death Company models... close to him, they're going to get to reroll one. Would Lamartes be able to buff the Death Company Dread? I mean... I don't know what the keywords are on the Death Company Dread. Let's have a look. It just says Death Company and Death Company Dread. So Tycho the Lost only buffs Death Company Core. Lamartes buffs Death Company Core and characters. His litany stuff changed. He can have two litanies. But his litanies will work on the Death Company Dread. So each time the model recites a litany, if that instructs you to select a friendly unit, then that unit must have the Death Company keyword. In addition, each time model recites a litany, it only affects Death Company units. So yes, his litanies would affect the Death Company Dread. So we could have a 10-man Death Company, and Lamartes, and the Death Company Dread in the Storm Raven. I mean, that's a lot of points right there. Let me just put down how many points that is, and we can see if that's a valuable option. I have Death Company Dread with Blood Talons, Heavy Flamer, and a Melta-Gun. So that would be... The DC Dread would be 140. Heavy Flamer, Meltagun, and Talons, right? Do you know what? We'll take Lamartez because, you know, he's kind of a classic model. He does have the Crozius, which will do things to armor, I think. I feel like it's going to probably end up doing more. I mean, it's going to be strength 6 minus. Well, hold on. Astaroth busts the Death Company as well, right? What does he do to the Death Company? So he basically makes them immune to leadership. He can also now use Massive Doom. It's like a special litany. I didn't realise this. This can be cast every turn. So you can basically make it on a roll of 2 to 5. They get +1 to their hit roll. It's pretty strong. And then I guess he can cast like Mantra of Strength or Canticle of Hate, I guess, as well. That's probably the other two that I would take. Mantra of Strength, obviously buffing buffing himself, and basically giving his axe 4 damage, which is kind of nice. So, and again, Astaroth would fit in there, and his litanies would affect both the Death Company and the Dreadnought, because it doesn't specifically say that they can't affect them. So does Massive Doom affect the Death Company? Death Company have... Yeah, they are core. Okay, so I'm kind of tempted to try Astaroth, right? Because if we're talking about he's got some big armor that needs to be killed, if you cast Mantra of Strength on Astaroth, then you're looking at 4 damage a hit. He's slightly more tanky as well. I guess he's got 1 extra wound over Lamartez. I think the only thing Lamartez would give you is that guaranteed charge reroll. But if you think about it, if our Storm Raven is going to jump forward 45 inches, when we exit the Storm Raven, we exit, 3 inches away, then we can move 6. So I feel like you can get anywhere in the battlefield straight away. So I don't know if a reroll and charge is going to be that needed. I know Astaroth is pointy at the moment. So Astaroth is 150, Lamartez is 120. They used to both be under 100, and then they just put them to 110. So these guys have been pretty heavily nerfed recently, I guess. I did a video on them a month ago or something where they'd made them both 110. Alright. So we could do that. We could do Astaroth. And then like a 10-man Death Company. I have not made Death Company. I should know this though, because my video this week. Too many tabs again, sorry. Death Company. So Death Company are 22 points per model, so we wouldn't be taking jump packs, so we're just 22 points model. So 10 of them would be 220. So 10 times DC are 220. Yeah, I mean, Dreads are vehicles, but the Storm Raven can carry 1 Dreadnought as long as it's got less than 13 wounds, I believe, is the criteria. So it can take like a Relic Contemptor, but it can't carry a Leviathan, or it can't carry the Primaris Redemptor Dreadnoughts. And then to make this Death Company effective, we need some weapons in there, like some Power Fists, some Thunder Hammers. Otherwise, they just won't do enough against the armor. So, if we put in like a Thunder Hammer, on maybe like 2 or 3 Power Fists and 2 or 3 Infernal Pistols, maybe. So Infernal Pistols are 5. Power Fists are 10. Thunder Hammers, they're expensive for Death Company. 15 points a model, shit. Okay, so 2 Thunder Hammers, let's say that's 30. 2 Power Fists, maybe even 3 Power Fists, again that's 30. 2 Infernal Pistols, that is 10. The Infernal Pistols are actually a steal here. I mean, because you're probably going to get to fire them because you're in combat anyway, or you're right up close in melee, right? Yeah, I mean, he could carry the... It could carry the Librarian Dreadnought, if we prefer that. The Death Company, Astaroth, the Librarian Dreadnought will be about 600 points. So rather than break this down by HQ, let's talk about it more like as like attack wings, right? Because that's what we're trying to figure out. So if attack wing 1 is like, I guess the problem with taking the Lib Dread is we're going to have to lose our healer, which I'm not sure that I want to do. I feel like this Rites of War or Selfless... So Selfless Healer is going to be good if we had 2 squads. We're not probably going to run 2 squads. Probably going to run the 1 squad of... Sanguinary Guard or Vanguard Veterans. So, if we take Rites of War, that basically means anything that's with him can become OBSEC, which could be really important for securing primary point scores, right? I feel like this Rites of War is really interesting, and he can still heal. I believe you still can heal 1 model every turn from death as well by being that Chief Librarian. You don't need the Warlord trait for that. So I guess I feel against this list I'm going to run Vanguard Veterans. I really struggled the Sanguinary Guard against them before just because the raw damage output and the fact that Sanguinary Guards have no invulnerable save, that really hurt me. So this would be attack wing 1, something like this, where 740 points. Dante, the priest, giving us the 6+ feel no pain. 10 Vanguard vets with their 4+ storm shields. The Sanguinary Ancient, so basically Sanguinary Ancient gives these guys +1 to hit, so these guys now hit on 2s. Dante lets them re-roll everything, so even the Thunder Hammers and the Power Fists, which are hitting on 3s, get to re-roll 1s and 2s. So this makes like a really strong squad, and potentially all this could deep strike, right? It would cost no CP to deep strike it. It will depend on what the battlefield looks like. You know, like when you play 9th edition now, you either are 24 inches away from the enemy, or you play long ways and it's slightly longer. If we're on one of the maps where we could jump almost halfway across and hide in turn 1, and then jump into the deployment zone in turn 2 and almost guarantee a charge, then we do have Icon of the Angel in here as well, so we get to reroll all our charges for all these guys, as long as, I guess, they're within 3 of the Sanguinary Ancient, but we obviously position these wisely so that they always are. Yeah, Astaroth's Mass wouldn't? I'm not sure. Let's check. Fuck it, quick, just type Astaroth. So the Dreadnought isn't core, but I mean, I guess it is a character. Just it's kind of too risky, right? Like, what, you're gonna roll a dice and on a 1, your 150 point dread is just destroyed. I mean, you could. I'd be happy to roll a 1 on like the Death Company, lose 1 guy, but to lose your Dreadnought wouldn't really be an option, right? So, if we talk about that as wing 1, attack wing 1 or whatnot, we then need to have like our deployment guys. For lack of a better word, these are the guys that we're going to sit in our deployment zone. The cheapest we could do that really is like intercessors with the cheapest you could do it was with assault intercessors, But I mean, I like to try and balance regular intercessors, assault intercessors. The assault intercessors tend to push forward for me anyway. Regular intercessors tend to sit in objectives. These guys will get absolutely annihilated by any sort of deep striking drop pods with melta guns, though. So I guess the question is, I mean, we would take scouts just for holding the objectives. Again, the problem is they will die. Just the only advantage to taking scouts is because multi-meltas do, what is it like? It's only going to be 8 shots. No, 10 shots. 10 shots because they've got a cherub. So if you had scouts, I guess because scouts are 1 wound, they're basically wasting multi-point wound weapons on a single unit. So scouts might work, and then we talk about attack wing 2. So we could have the Librarian Dreadnought. I mean, the Librarian Dreadnought flying forward in the Storm Raven might be the coolest idea, right? Because when he pops out, he can cast Null Zone, and Null Zone basically removes the Relic Leviathan's invulnerable save, which will be huge for getting that thing off the table, right? The reason the Leviathans are so hard to kill is the 4+ invulnerable save they have. If we can just remove that, then it will be a lot easier to deal with. Did I have the psychic powers still up somewhere? Yeah, here. So Null Zone, it'll be a 12-inch range. To make it a 12-inch range, we kind of need to give this guy the relic, the Biomantic Sacrifice, whatever the they need to put in brackets how the hell you're supposed to pronounce this. Before I just read it, and before I was streaming this stuff, it was like, oh yeah, it's the Dreadnought relic. Now it's like, is that Sarcophagus? I don't know. So basically we would have to have 2 additional relics of Val, so we have to take 3 CP for that. So we were down to 9, Dante giving us +1 if he stays as our Warlord, leaves us at 10. So we have our Storm Raven. These things are expensive point-wise. Let's check. Haven't played with my Storm Raven in what feels like forever. Storm Raven. It's fast attack, right? Or apparently not. Is it dedicated trans? Oh no, it's flyer. Sorry. You can't disembark and charge turn 1, but it does. It does have -1 to hit because it's fast flying, and it does have toughness 7, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to hit. And I guess it no longer takes the -1 for shooting and moving like it did in previous editions. So its guns are going to be a lot more deadly with the twin multi-meltas, and obviously multi-meltas got the buff where they. So it's 310 points. Twin multi-melta is 20. Twin las cannon looks like it's just 10, and the Hurricane Bolter is 15. Let me see. Storm Raven gunship. What does it come with? So it comes with a Storm Strike. And then you can replace the Twin Assault with las cannons. You can replace the Typhoon with the multi-meltas, and then it can be equipped with a Hurricane Bolter. So we need to pay for the las cannon, we need to pay for the multi-melta, and we need to pay for the Hurricane Bolter. See, these new data sheets are really confusing, right? In that, you can put 2 Hurricane Bolters on it, but I think you'd only pay the 15 points because there's no option to put a single Hurricane Bolter on, right? So you would only pay 15, or do I pay the full? Do I pay 30? Maybe somebody in chat knows. I feel like I don't know, which is really annoying. So Stormraven is 310. Twin Multi-Melta is 20. Twin Laz is 10. The Hurricane Bolter is 15. So it comes in as 355 points. What are people telling me in chat? So we've got the Librarian Dreadnought. I better I'll sum these together so we can kind of see where we are. Let's see what we've got left. Did I miss a bracket? See, Omen, I think you're right there, right? But then, for example, someone was saying on the Death Company Dreadnought you only pay 5 points for the Blood Talons, but the profile says you swap out both Blood Talons. I don't feel like... I don't know. Yeah, like, what does it say on the Blood Talon sheet? Is it singular or is it plural? Because there's a lot of, like... I don't want to say that they rushed this edition out, but it feels like there has been a lot of mistakes in these data sheets and stuff. Like, it was the same when I was looking at the Blood Angel stuff last week on the stream. It was just like so confusing. Oh yeah, the Death Company Dread is in this one. Sorry. So, for example, Death Company Dread, it says Blood Talons 5. Oh, maybe you're right then. So maybe we have to pay 30. I just don't know, because I can see another mistake there where it basically said for these new War Scrolls, whatever's said here you get for free, and here it 100% says Typhoon Missile Launcher. Like, you get that for free, but then when you go over to the points thing for it, it's absolutely got Typhoon Missile Launcher on that list, right? Whereas like Typhoon Missile Launcher, 10 points, but it's in the War Scroll, so you get it for free, so why have you even mentioned it? So I guess my question is, do you guys think this is 355 points, or do you think it's 370? I think you're leaning towards 370. That seems really expensive, though. You know, like, that's more expensive than that Leviathan Dreadnought with 300 kilo missiles. I'm not sure about that. Okay, and then we put the 10 Death Company inside there, and the 10 Death Company were this many points. Yeah, thank you. It is inconsistent and it is confusing. I think we're going to get a lot of erratas this or a lot of FAQs. So at the moment we're sitting at 840 points, but we haven't included Astroth or Lamartas. Actually, we're not able to include them anymore because we're now at 3 HQ because the Librarian Dreadnought puts us at 3 HQ. So our HQ is Dante, the Sanguinary Priest, the Dreadnought. We have a Stormraven with this Dreadnought, the Death Company. You know, there's actually room inside the Stormraven for 2 more models. We have 140 points left. So, you know, when we talk about there being room for 2 more models, oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. I just need to cancel this. Can't speak right now. Yeah, 370 for the Stormraven is massive. I mean, I know the Stormraven has was it 14 wounds, toughness 7. It does have hard to hit, so it's a -1 to hit. So I mean, in some ways that does feel like it gets some more wounds. Still, those Leviathans are going to chew it up when they actually start opening fire on it. I'm not. There must be a way. Okay. So. Yeah, if we go back, so anyone that's new to the stream or has just tuned in recently, the problem we're trying to solve, or the list that I'm trying to make to beat, is an Iron Hands list that has 2 Leviathan Dreadnoughts, 2 Devastators squads with multi-meltas with drop pods, and then a Mortis Dread with 4 las cannons, who's untargetable, and he's basically protected by like 10 infiltrators. And yeah, so while I kind of like the power the Stormraven gives, is the Stormraven going to be able to survive, I guess, is the question. Can the Stormraven survive? I feel like he can't, right? Even with a -1 to hit, the Leviathan Dreads are going to hit, 13 times? This is going to be just one Dread is going to hit it 13 times. It's going to wound on 4s. So, 6 wounds go through. So, I mean, and then we save on 5s maybe? So, we need to take off 6 go through, we save on 5s, which means 66 go through, so we end up failing 4 saves and it's 2 damage a pop. So, if Leviathan shoots it, it does survive. It does survive with 6 wounds, but the Leviathan still has 3 hunter killer missiles, so you could easily pop it with a couple of hunter killer missiles. That makes it really tricky as well. I think the other thing that I was thinking potentially against this list was Land Raiders, because Land Raiders have toughness 8, so they're the one unit. Like, I don't think Repulsors have toughness 8. Actually, I haven't run a I haven't run a Repulsor since my very first battle of 9th edition. Do you know what? They do have toughness 8 as well. But I guess the difference between the Land Raider and the Repulsor is the Repulsor saves on 3, the Land Raider saves on 2. So the Land Raider has a much better chance at surviving against... sorry about the background noise. So we could have like a Land Raider Crusader. The Land Raider Crusader has the ability to transport 16 units now. So we could have 16 units, toughness 8, saving on 2s. So against the Leviathan storm cannons, they're like way more survivable. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Omen. If the Stormraven is full of Death Company, and I mean, you have to declare that at the start of the battle, right? So he's going to know that there's a Death Company and there's a Dreadnought and all sorts inside, which is going to make it very difficult to... It's going to make it difficult because las cannons are 48 inches, right? So to get the Stormraven tactic to work, you'd be talking about jumping forward 45 inches. So, and you need to make that Dreadnought the closest target. So if you can't make that Dreadnought the closest target, then you can't even shoot that Dreadnought. So yeah, it's a really tricky situation. The Storm Raven may not work. Um, I mean, the Librarian Dreadnought could come in as a reserve, right? And then you could use the psychic power so that it has a 65% chance of making that charge. But yeah, I've been thinking about this list for a few days. I'm probably going to end up having to just take something that's maybe not super optimal, but like I believe this Iron Hands list has played against like 3 other lists as well. I believe it's played Ultramarines, I believe it's played Chaos, I believe it's played Death Guard, and I believe it's beaten all of them. But I mean, I think the one weakness the Leviathans have, I guess, is armor. But the thing that's dealing with that is the 300 killer missiles. And obviously, this untargetable dreadnought is a real problem, just shooting out 4 las cannons every turn, pretty much almost guaranteeing hits. And with the reroll and wounds, it's going to be wounding as well. So if you did bring like a Land Raider Crusader, you're still going to have to deal with potentially getting hit by 4 las cannons. Las cannons wound a Crusader on 3s again, so I guess there's a very good chance that, you know, if you bring Land Raiders, they're going to take a lot of damage from that long range dread as well. So, I mean, the other option is to go back to the first idea where we talk about Dante returning, we talk about having a 9-man Vanguard Vet Squad, we talk about having a 10-man Sanctuary Guard. We're going to absolutely roll over him when we get close to him. Yeah, the Storm and the Dread does give me air control, but yeah, unfortunately I don't own Storm Talons. So I'm trying to... Do you know what? I end up buying new models every single month, it seems like, at the moment, but yeah. This list is a real doozy. I mean, someone was talking about earlier about Terminators, you know, like, do Terminators... Close combat Terminators are obviously a thing, and close combat Terminators with Storm Shields have a 1-up save, right? Oh, do you know what? I just thought of that. What about... What about close combat Terminators with Storm Shields so that they save on 3s against the Leviathans? I mean, but then you talk about sheer weight of fire, right? The Leviathan gets 20 shots, like 15 or 16 hits. Against Terminators, it's going to be wounding on 3s. So again, it's going to be like 11 saves on 3+. Even at 11 saves on 3+, you're going to be failing saves, right? Like you're going to fail 3 or 4, so you would lose 3 or 4 of your Terminators. That's a lot to lose. You know, Terminators are 38 points per model, I think, at the moment. 42 actually, if you take the Storm Shield and Thunderhammer. So losing 4 42-point models from one thing shooting that's a pretty heavy loss. You know, that's 160 points loss. And obviously, if you deep strike the Terminators, then you cannot guarantee the charge because it's an 8-inch charge. So, yeah. I mean, I guess if a lot of you guys are here and a lot of you guys seen this list now, it'd be interesting to know. Oh, you're right, actually. Terminators are 3 wounds each. Okay. Yeah, I knew Terminators had been buffed, but I completely glazed over the fact they're 3 wounds each now. So it takes 2 Storm Cannon shots to kill a Terminator. Okay. So I have a lot of close combat Terminators. Like, I think I want to say I have like 30 of them. is there a list here that works with close combat Terminators with storm shields? Like, we've kind of ruled out the Storm Raven, right? Like, it's so expensive, and if we rule out the Storm Raven, then we rule out the Death Company too. What if we put in a 10-man... Yeah, 10-man or 2 5-man? What about 10-man close combat Terminators with Thunderous Hammers and Storm Shields? I'm convinced they're 42 points per model. I was looking at them on the live stream last week, but we'll just double check that. Assault Terminators, sorry, 33 points per model, 10 for the Thunderhammer. Alright, so we need... Let's do 2 5-man squads. So it's 43... Yeah, so it's 43 points per model. And let's give each squad a teleport homer. So 43 times 5, 215. And the homer. We'll maybe remove the homer based on if we need the points back, but I mean, what the homer does is it lets us redeploy them elsewhere if it's really needed. Let's leave this for the minute then. Let's forget about the homer. Is there a psychic power that can be used on these Terminators to buff them? We could add 1 strength, 1 toughness, and 1 attack to them from the Dreadnought. That's pretty cool. What's the range of that? I guess it will be 18 with our Dreadnought. So we could bring in our Dreadnought, we could null zone, bring in our Dreadnought hopefully within 9 inches of a Leviathan, null zone the Leviathan so it gets no invulnerable save, and then, actually that makes no difference, because, oh no, I guess it would make a difference if it was turn 3, but what about a Terminator with a... What about a Terminator Ancient? Was that on this little Blood Angels thing? No. Yeah, I'm just wondering about a Terminator Ancient. Ancient and Terminator armor. An Ancient Terminator armor gets to... Was there no Terminator... Like, did we not have a Terminator Ancient on this? Am I thinking incorrectly? I'm wondering if there's a way... This isn't right now. This needs to be this column. D. So we're at 1460 points. What have we got at the moment? We've got a little bit of backline. We've got Dante, Sanguinary Guard, 10 vets, and the Sanguinary Ancient. We've got the Live Dread. We've got the 2 squads of close combat Terminators. I wonder if we... I wonder if we want more like, what would you guys like? I'm actually, this is the most exciting idea that I've had for a what, because the close combat Terminators are going to save against the storm cannons on 3s. I kind of wanted a way to see if there was a way that we could give them like any sort of feel no pain, or a banner bearer to give them. Like, I feel like if we still had Standard of Sacrifice, I would totally be dropping a banner. What I'm trying to say, I would totally be dropping a banner bearer with the Standard of Sacrifice with these guys. That would be huge. I mean, we could drop we could drop a Sanguinary Ancient with them. Like, I know they're quite costly, but where is it? So we can basically add one to their melee attacks. When they're fighting with a lot of Thunderhammers, that adding one might be a big deal, right? Like, the reason that I like these Terminators is they'll save the Leviathan Storm Cannon on 3s, and like nothing else will pretty much save on 3s against the Storm Cannon. Because the Terminator's Storm Shields, they already have the 2+ saves, so they have a 1-up save. So the -2 from the Storm Cannon basically just means that we still save on 3s. Yeah, Chainfists are AP -4, but I mean, we could run a regular squad of Terminators with Stormbolters and AP -4 Chainfists, and then try Null Zone, like 5 times regular Terminators. How many elites are we at this point, though? Vanguard Vets are elites. Sanguinary Ancient's elite. So I guess this would be elite number 5, so we're okay at the moment. Yeah, I mean, Chainfist on Null Zone would absolutely wreck them. I mean, there's a... Let me have a look at regular Terminators. And I need to check how costly regular Terminators are as well. 38 points per model. So it's 190 for basically a regular Terminator squad. That'll be with like no heavy weapons. Oh wait, I think this needs to go there as well. Alright, so we're up at 1800 points now. Would it be worth losing the icon of the angel from this group though, and bringing it down with the Terminators? So like, basically you'd almost be guaranteeing some of these Terminators are going to make their charge, and if they, if we talked about being able to do an 8-inch charge with a reroll as being 65%, if we well, the Leviathan, the Librarian Dread can be taken by strategic reserve, right? I think like this list is starting with like 10 CP, so I think Librarian Dread was PL9 maybe? PL8, so it costs 1 CP to put him in strategic reserve. Well, the Librarian Dread would need to... I mean, if he can make a charge, if he can make his charge, then great. Because there's a very good chance that he's bringing in his Leviathans via the reserve. So if he does that, then they're at the edge of the board, and then my Librarian Dread can come in at the edge of the board as well, within 12, cast Null Zone, so that they have no invulnerable save. And then we drop all these in and try desperately to get into a charge. We could bring a second Ancient with us to give us +1 on all these hit rolls. That would actually be kind of valuable. Terminator Assault Squads get, I guess, 3 for the regular guys, 4 for the Sergeant, and regular Terminators get exactly the same. So you'd be talking like, if we talk about the squad with the Thunderhammers, then 3 for the regular guys is 12, so it'd be 16 Thunderhammer hits. If we don't have the Ancient with us, we basically hit 10 times, 10 and a half. if we do have the Ancient with us, we hit 13 times. So, yeah, I mean, I know he needs wings, and hopefully we'll get that back soon. But I mean, we have to deal with what we have at the moment, right? All right. I am kind of running out of time here today, guys. I kind of try and make this stream last an hour. We're at 1 hour and 45. I feel like maybe I have something now that might work. If you all give me your final suggestions, right? Like, is there anything you would change with this list? We could change out the Vanguard Vets and have actually Sanguinary Guard. We could move this Sang Ancient from these guys into Wing 2. We do have room for one other elite choice if we want an elite choice. Or we could go back to where we were with the buggies. We could have 3 buggies coming in. Again, the buggies are 1 CP to bring in from strategic reserves, so we could bring in 3 buggies with this Librarian Dread and have 6 multi-melta shots. We could pay 1 CP when he comes in to get Wisdom of the Ancient so that they all shoot. If we did that, do you know what? We could almost put like a Cyclone missile launcher on one of these Terminators. I think I had that here. It's 25 points. Yeah, so we could easily bring in like 3 buggies and the Cyclone missile launcher. That would leave us 10 points, so we'd actually put one of those teleport homers in, or we could add. I'm not sure what we could add, but yeah, sometimes I run a Contemptor Mortis Dreadnought with 2 times 4 las cannons. It's 185 points. You know, like I have that in this other list, so we actually have room for that as well. I mean, this guy can. He's just going to struggle against all those multi-melta shots if the Devastators come down, right? But I mean, at the same time, he can be deployed in hiding. We can screen him to begin with. He does have 48-inch range with the with the las cannons. So there's a good chance we can keep. You know, we can deploy him somewhere where he's fairly safe in turn 1. Or, you know, we could lose this Terminator squad and this Terminator squad and have my own Leviathan and have my Leviathan come in as a reserve as well. And if my Leviathan came in as a reserve with my other Dreadnought, how much? It must cost like 2 CP to bring in a Leviathan. I don't know how many power level they are off the top of my head. Yeah, there's 16, so it would be 2 CP to bring a Leviathan in as a reserve. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. It's a really difficult list to beat. I think it would be a difficult list to beat even if we had all of our stratagems and that available to us right now. As they aren't available, I guess that's why I'm struggling. That's why it's taken 2 hours and I still aren't confident with any of the lists that we made. But yeah, do you know what? If you guys want a challenge, then put a list together against this and drop it into the comments below. I'm fighting this list on Wednesday. And I will let you know. Do you know what? I'll put in the comments on Wednesday what the final list that I picked was, and I will get the battle report up, and hopefully it's a glorious victory. But yeah, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling with this list. Like I said, there was a slight variation of this, and I did almost table it, but like I lost so hard in points. Like I want to say, like I lost by like 30 points. At the end, I knew I'd lost by points, and I was just desperate to wipe out everything he had left on the table, and it was close. He had like Ferris left with 2 wounds and Apothecary left with 1 wound, but I mean there was no cigar. You know, it always sucks when you lose. So, all right, I think I'm gonna call it for the day. thank you very much for tuning in. If you're new here or you're not subscribed yet, then please consider subscribing. We do Blood Angels content every week. There's a lot of new stuff coming, I guess. Next week I'll have the Space Marine Codex, so maybe we can go over everything that's been mentioned in that. And in the meantime, I guess new video will be coming out on Tuesday, and then a new video on Friday as always. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and please, if you've got any more thoughts, leave me a comment below. I will try and figure out where I'm going with this. Until next time then, and also thanks again to everybody that's here and stayed for the whole stream. A few of you guys are here in every stream. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. Alright, until next time. Peace.